morning, welcome back. Today is day one of the restoration of Kris Jr.'s car. Project
Piece of Stang.
Project Piece of Stang. Well, it may not be a piece of Stang after we finish restoring it. Today we are starting on the exterior paint of Junior's 1982 Ford Mustang GT. We're going to start small today. We're going to remove the hood and we're going to get some primer on it. This is going to be a pretty long process because we're planning on doing the car one piece at a time, removing the hood, the nose, the fenders, the rear hatch. We're going to sand them, do any repairs that the bodywork needs, prime it, one piece at a time, get the whole car ready, and then hopefully here in a month or two, 3 months, something like that, then we're going to paint the whole car. So this will not be a perfect restoration. It's not going to be show quality. We're doing this in our open air driveway. So, you know, with our buddy's borrowed paint gun. And we're going to put a coat of primer on it. And for a while, the whole car is going to be completely primer until the whole car is ready to go. But we're going to have different pieces of body work we have to do along the way. Like I noticed earlier that there's even a dent in our hood we've got to kind of smooth out before we finish today. But today is all about removing the hood, getting it sanded. It doesn't appear to be cancerous rust in it. We're going to make sure there's not. We're going to get it sanded down, we're going to get it primed, and we're going to get it ready for paint. Before we do that, I am outlining where the hood hinges go by actually etching it into the metal so there's no guessing games later. I'm going to mark it with paint also. And I just realized that the hood struts are actually riveted into place, so the hood strut, the strut bracket is going to get painted also. That is our original 1982 Ford Vehicle Emissions Control Information Sheet. I'm going to try to cover that up and not paint over it. I kind of like that. That's kind of cool. One of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to try to smooth out this little dent. And I'm about to measure this here in a minute. And we're going to try to figure out what caused this, because I don't think this is here a while back. It could be this, which could be a problem. We may have to do something about this. Yeah, we're already 99% positive that is going to be our negative battery terminal hitting our hood. We're going to measure it just to be sure, but this may be an oversized battery for this car. I don't know 100%. Pretty sure that is going to be our negative battery terminal. Yep. Okay, we're going to have to do something about that. These were okay, but it's got to go. I happen to have a plain old unused battery terminal sitting around the house. I'm going to try to put that on and see if it's lower profile and shorter than this one. See if that clears our hood. We'll clay check it here in a minute. This may not actually work. That may not really be any more low profile than what we already had. I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to try it. This is probably an oversized battery for this car. Junior reminded me that this actually came out of one of the other cars that we don't have anymore because the battery that was in this thing was dead. This does not appear to be much shorter than our last one, but we're going to clay check it. Yeah, well, there's some give under this now. There wasn't before. You could actually feel that battery terminal hitting before. Pop the hood. All right, well, it appears that we have our clearance. I don't see any clay residue around this. This is not pushed in all the way to the battery terminal. We have that much clearance. So hopefully that one terminal will fix our problem. All right, moving on to body work. We've gone and got our supplies, our sandpaper and our paint thinner for the paint gun, and we're about to take the hood off and get started on this project. Here's the car with the hood off. The hood is over here. We're about to pressure spray it. Unfortunately, we can't just wipe it down and get started. Got a lot of old dried oil and grime. So we're going to pressure spray it, let it dry, and then get to work. The inside of the hood was a lot funkier than we thought, so we had to break out some soap and try to kind of scrub it and break everything up. You know things are super funky when we break out the dish soap. Dish soap is the world's greatest degreaser. Alright, the inside of the hood is pretty well defunkified. All the actual built up standing grease is now gone. And we're going to get this thing dried out. We're going to just spray the inside of it with some flat black. And then we're going to get to sanding the outside of it and get it properly painted. This is Junior sanding and smoothing his hood scoop while the hood dries. Alright, we're done sanding this. Junior is wiping it down with some acetone, and even though we blew it off with air and we wiped it down with a rag, it's still pretty dirty. We've already wiped this down once with acetone and it was still pretty funky. Here's Junior taping off our original emission sticker just because we kind of want to keep it. It's kind of retro cool. It survived 42 years, so we're going to tape it up before we paint under here. Here's Junior taping off the original horse. The original horse is going to stay. Junior's decided he's going to keep it. It has earned its place. It is old, it is raggedy, it is cracked, it is faded, and it is going to stay that way. Because even though we're going to prime and paint this car, it's still going to maintain the spirit of a rat rod. And let's be honest, after we're done painting it, it'll probably still look like a rat rod, won't it, buddy? Just in case anyone thought we were going to get all professional on this paint job, the inside of the hood is just getting some Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer flat black. We're spraying all the nooks and the crannies. There's a little bit of light surface rust all over the place. We're just covering it up. That's all we're doing. We're just going to spray it, rattle can the inside, and we're going to do the outside of the hood somewhat professionally.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It says 305. I have no idea. But cover it up. Doesn't matter. We took a little break. The inside of the hood has dried with our rust reformer. Now Kris and his friend are sanding the top of the hood and preparing it for primer. You can see where that dent from the battery terminal was right here. I don't have a body hammer, but I was able to use a sanding block to put back here and a regular hammer, and it actually came out pretty flat. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. We are not body men. We are not professionals. Using a regular claw hammer and a sanding block. And I'm over here hitting the hood scoop with some gloss black, just rattle canning it, just so it'll look cool and contrast what'll be a gray hood for a while. Not sure if this will show up on camera or not, but I completely forgot to go back and hit this with the fine polishing sandpaper after roughing it up. So there are definitely some streaks in the black. I'm probably going to wait for this to dry, and we'll probably have to go back through and sand this down a little bit and recoat it. I just got in a hurry and completely forgot. It looked pretty good to the naked eye, But as soon as I started putting paint on it, you could see the grooves from the sandpaper. The boys are still hard at work with the medium grit sandpaper, taking the surface off. Then we are going to hit this with the fine sandpaper, the polishing sandpaper, or not the paint polishing sandpaper, but the smoothing sandpaper. And then we'll hit it with some acetone and be ready for primer. We've had a few spots where there's actual pitting, where the rust had gone all the way through. You can see that's actually a rust groove. It's pitted right here, little line. Some of the bolts were kind of rusted out around them, but so far nothing has eaten all the way through. But we have this line. There was a gouge in the hood, probably 18, 19 inches long, and the entire gouge, you can still see it a little bit. The gouge is pretty well pitted, but the hood's about 90% good to go. We are almost ready to switch sandpapers. All right, a few more spots than we had originally thought had to be taken all the way down to bare metal because there's a little rust pitting under them. This doesn't have to be perfect. We're just trying not to leave any rust. There's one little spot over here we kind of missed. We're re-hitting it, but we are now racing the clock because our 0% chance of rain was a lie. It is getting nasty and getting nasty fast. The hood is off the car. The hood is out here exposed to bare metal. And we need to get this thing cleaned and primered and under the tent, at least under the rain cover, as quick as possible. There are a few spots we probably need to hit a little bit better, but we are out of time. So, hello, strange paint gun that I've never used before. Let's see how this goes. Well, I don't know if my air compressor isn't pushing up pressure. This says it's pushing too much pressure, and it is just splattering. So it's just kind of spitting. I don't know what's going on with it. This is a nightmare. One of the sprayers on the paint gun is completely clogged. So all we can do is spray about half a spray, half a stream in a small little area straight down. Tried everything, cannot get this thing unclogged. And the wind just kicked in and here comes a wall of water. So
at 4 it says this.
I've got like a minute and a half to get this done. I've had to just take the nozzle completely off the gun just to try to get a coat of something on here. And I'm starting to feel the first few little drops of rain. So I'm going to have to stop here any second and just put this up and pull the car in and hope for the best. This is insanity. We picked today to paint because there was no rain and we're about to get drenched. I'm about as pissed off as I could be. This thing is just spitting paint everywhere. This got to the point of absurdity. We were under here under this rain tarp trying to paint this thing, and the wind just came in and ripped our sun cover apart, ripped this thing apart. Now it's getting soaked. We had to put the hood back on just to protect the engine. Our primer and our paint are no doubt going to be just completely ruined here in a little bit. So much for 0% chance of rain, huh? As I get completely soaked. Lovely. All right, weatherman, touche. This isn't rain, this is hail. We are getting beaten by hail. All right, fine. So it's not raining, it's gonna beat our car to death with hail. Awesome. You gotta love modern weather services. Well, that's it. It is officially 100% chance of rain until after dark, so we are done for the day. Our paint is pretty jacked up. I have to work the next few nights, so I won't even get to really look at it and assess the damage for another 3 or 4 days. My guess is we'll have to do a whole lot of sanding and just pretty much start over from scratch. We got a little bit of a lull in the rain and thought I'd come out here and see what's going on, but our cover is completely filled with rain and ripped out and torn out. And, I mean, it looks good wet, but All that fresh primer and fresh paint can't be good having all this water on it. Guess we'll see this weekend. All right, it's 7 p.m. Our 6-hour, 100% chance of rain, a massive storm that was supposed to last till 10 p.m. is gone. So, you know, kind of like how it was never supposed to exist. Then it existed, and then it only existed half as long as they said it would. So I thought I'd come out here and check the damage. It ain't pretty. See if I can get some of this on camera. You can see where the water just sat. And it has managed to dry. Everything is dry. Oof. But it is pretty rough. The good news is, hopefully this weekend we can come out here and we can just sand this down, smooth it out, and put some more layers on it. The black, which was paint, not primer, seems to have gotten even worse than the primer did. It doesn't show up on camera very well, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Water sat up here and just soaked into that fresh paint, and it looks horrible. Those are not actual water spots right there. Well, a couple of them are. Those are in the paint now. Whoops. Put my hand down and yeah, it is definitely not dry. Can't figure out why. It is 3 days later, and this seems awfully familiar. This was another hot, dry, warm day that has not quite gone our way. Woke up early to come paint, and it is not happening today. 3 of my days off in a row. Another hot, dry, rainless day that is not hot, dry, nor rainless. I'm not even sure what the point of a weather forecast is at this point. I just pulled in the driveway. I had the hood over here to sand it, ran down to the parts store, had to go a couple places, was gone an hour, and started getting rained on while I was out. So I had to run home, set it under the rain tarp, and put the hood back on. Day off number 4 in a row. Another hot, sunny, dry, cloudless, rainless day that is none of those things. Did take the hood off. I'm going to at least try to sand down some of the damage, and I'm going to try to, I'm light sanding this thing, trying to take the bubbles and everything out of it, see if I can get a coat of paint on this before the rain kicks in. Alright, Kris Jr.'s at work today. I'm going to try to get some sanding done on this before the weather rolls in, even if we don't get to paint it. I already started, but you can see where the rain water sat. You can see all the blotches, all the fisheye. Then of course got a couple of dirty handprints from where we quickly had to grab the still wet hood and try to move it out of the rain. But I'm going to try to do some of this before he gets home. And if the rain stays away by some miracle, we will spray it again in a few hours. Well, I finished one round of sanding with the heavy grit paper, and it really didn't do nearly as much as I thought it was going to do. There's still a ton of blotches and high spots and low spots. It's going to need a couple of rounds of sanding, I guess. That paint gun was really spitting wads and really uneven, and then the rain, and you can see where all the water just sat in the primer as it cured. All right, it doesn't look great, but it feels pretty good. Oof, I'll take that back. There's some rough spots right here I'm going to have to go over again. I just blew it off with air and wiped it down with acetone. Of course, got our little dent there that It's not horrible, but I got hit it again with some light grit. Okay, I think this thing is finally ready to be sprayed again. It is about 2 hours later. When I really got into this thing and started inspecting it, it needed a lot more work than I initially thought. I had to go back to the really rough grit sandpaper, really coarse sandpaper, and really take this thing down almost back to bare metal. And it is bare metal in a few spots. It was just that rough and nasty. These were not great. You can tell where the water had kind of pooled up around here, built up, and the primer had kind of run and settled in these grooves and channels, and it was pretty rough. When I really inspected it to see, okay, am I ready to respray this thing? I was not. It was horrible even by my standards, and we know how low my standards are. I like to run trash, but I couldn't live with it, so I had to take this thing down pretty far. As soon as Junior gets off work, if the weather stays dry, we're going to try to paint this here in a couple more hours. Also discovered, and there's a little dent right here in this little curvature of the body, this little junction point, but you can't get to it because underneath is frame, hood frame, so there's no getting that out. But I mean, you can't even really tell it till you start trying to sand it, and I noticed it is not the same as over here. But, all right, try to get some paint on the hood scoop some more, call it good for now. I'm gonna go work on my engine now. Here's the hood scoop. Got a couple of coats of rattle can black on it. It's a 5-footer. It doesn't look horrible for a rattle can job. Now back to working on my engine. All right, Kris Jr. just got home. He's changing. I've just run a bunch of mineral spirits through our paint gun and cleaned it out. I think we actually have a fairly even spray pattern today, so I'm gonna go work on my engine after I get him settled and get him to spray his own hood. All right, here's Junior laying down our coat of primer. Yeah, just keep the gun moving in the area. Go back over a couple times if you miss a spot. Don't let it sit still and puddle. All right, that's it. We are done. It does not look great. We could not get that gun to spray evenly. It either blotched and shot out gobs of paint, or it was all air and there's really no in between. This is not a very good primer job, but all we really care about is that all the bare metal is coated. We may come out here, I mean, we definitely will at some point come out here and sand this down a little bit before we paint it, but not now. We want the car back together and we want it running, so we're gonna, it's dried pretty much. We're gonna bolt it onto the car here in a minute and put the hood scoop on and see what it looks like. All right, the hood is back on. We got the hinges back on. It's mostly lined up. Got the shocks back on. And looking pretty good, all flat black underneath here. All right, boy, peel the sticker. Or peel the tape over the sticker and let's see what it looks like. Hey, it looks like it survived pretty well. Keep peeling it, boy. Excellent. Heck yeah. Our original emissions control sticker is intact, it looks like. Awesome. Kind of wish I'd have hit the hood scoop with some clear coat or something. It's not great. It's a 10-footer. The hood itself, the primer's trash. It'll take a lot of sanding before we paint. But I was hoping to get a nice, even coat on the hood, but it didn't work out that way. And we're going to peel the tape off the original horse to expose it. And it's going to fit right in now because it's going to be as trash as the hood. The
horse is beautiful and majestic.
The horse is beautiful and majestic? All right. There she is, the original horse. Paint free. And of course, the best way to cure this paint is to drive it, right? 60, 70 mile per hour blow dryer ought to do it. She is definitely a 20-footer. It's not beautiful, but at least it's not rusting. All right, that's it. We're done with this part of the car. We learned a lot. I think we learned we're going to invest in our own new paint gun to do the rest of the car. We'll come out here pretty soon and light sand the primer to smooth it out, but that way the paint sticks evenly. But the most important thing is that the metal is protected. So it doesn't look great. I'm not overly proud of it, but given the circumstances, we did what we could. So you like it with the gray and the black? You know, the whole thing's gonna be gray someday. Yeah. And we just leave it that way, right? No, you still want to paint it? Okay, fine. He's not cut out for the rat rod lifestyle. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.